Hello everybody, I'm Silleaf. This will be the one-shot entitled The Haunting of a Hero by I_have_control_of_my_life on AO3. Summary. Would you care if I jumped off the roof of this building? Dread wrapped the entirety of Shouta's chest, closing in on him like a python suffocating its prey. Yes, he answered, simple but empathetic. I don't know why you're up here, Midoriya, but I know this isn't the answer. You have your whole life ahead of you. Don't throw it away before you've had the chance to actually live. The kid hummed, tilting his head slightly while keeping his stare glued to the concrete below. Would your answer change if I told you that I was quirkless? Of course not, kid. With that, Midoriya finally turned to look at him, his expression chilling him to the bone. Dealing with jumpers was a part of the job, but usually there was some emotion that he could latch onto to help talk them down. Fear, sadness, anger, grief. Anything that indicated their emotional state was to an extreme that hindered them from seeing other, less drastic solutions to whatever their problem was. But Midoriya's face was completely blank. Well, he said, smiling at Shouta with dead eyes. It should. Or, every hero is haunted by something. Shouta meets his ghost on a rooftop. One of the first things Shouta teaches his students is that, as a hero, there are cases that will haunt you for the rest of your life. Being a hero isn't like other jobs. You can't just clock in and then pretend like it doesn't impact you when you're off duty. Every hero, whether they're underground or in the spotlight, has at least one case that sticks with them. That has them spend months rethinking moments, wondering what they could have done differently. No matter how stoic a hero is, they undoubtedly have cases that wrecked them. Leave them screaming and crying months, years after the fact. Not even Shouta, a man who's solely driven by logic and reason, is immune from this. He met his case on a rooftop. Well, to say it was a case wouldn't be completely accurate, considering that Shouta hadn't even been on patrol when he caught sight of the kid standing on the edge of the building. He'd been on a walk when he first saw Midoriya Izuku staring down from the roof of Aldera Middle School, the boy wearing an expression he couldn't quite decipher from the ground. Of course, at that point, he had never heard the name Midoriya Izuku. All he knew in that moment was that he'd seen enough jumpers to recognize another one, even with just a glance. So, he didn't hesitate to run towards the fire escape ladder on the side of the school, climbing up it as fast as he could, praying that he got there before the kid did something drastic. Hey, kid. He called out as soon as he clambered onto the roof, making sure to keep his tone gentle, especially when he noticed the boy's shoulders tense. What are you doing up here? The kid doesn't turn around, but then again, Shouta hasn't really expected him to. Thinking? The boy muttered, so soft it just barely carried over the breeze. About what? He inched forward, stopping when the kids seemed to mimic him, shuffling closer to the ledge with every one of Shota's barely there steps. In the distance, he could hear crickets singing, the only sound in the otherwise quiet night as he waited for a response. I'm thinking about who deserves to be a hero. A hero, huh? There were a lot of ways that could be interpreted. Is he waiting for a hero to help him? Or has he already lost faith in the hero community? Would Shouta telling him that he's a hero make the kid trust him more or less? Eventually, he settled on asking, well, who do you think deserves to be a hero? I used to think those who truly wanted to help people deserved to be heroes, but I don't think it matters who deserves to be a hero. I think the only thing that matters is if you're strong enough. He shifted his weight, drawing attention to his sock-clad feet, and the shoes lying forgotten to the side. If you're too weak, you're not allowed to have anything. Kid. You're a hero, aren't you, sir? The abrupt change in conversation threw him, and, in his confusion, he almost missed the second part of the kid's words. Probably underground if I had to guess. A small part of Shouta couldn't help but be impressed, even as he debated the pros and cons of admitting to his underground status. Then again, he didn't really seem upset about Shouta possibly being a hero. More curious than anything. So, surely telling him his name wouldn't be too much of a risk. When the kid leaned forward, closer to the edge, he decided the best course of action was just to be honest. I'm pro-hero Racerhead. The kid's back straightened slightly, the only sign that he even heard Shouta at all. Eraserhead? You used to be one of my favorites. You've heard of me. He shrugged. I like learning about heroes. The kid huffed, a laugh that was more self-deprecating than amused. At least I used to. Well, Shouta started, risking another half step closer to the boy. Since you know my name, would you be willing to tell me yours? At first, he didn't answer, his gaze never leaving the ground below him, while Shouta mentally begged him to just keep talking, to stay with him a little longer. My name is Midoriya, he eventually admitted. Midoriya Izuku. It's nice to meet you, Midoriya. The kid, Midoriya, hummed, but otherwise didn't try to respond. Can you do me a favor, Midoriya? Can you step back away from the edge of the roof? Instead of moving, Midoriya spoke again, his words firmer than they had been before. If I asked you a question, would you answer it honestly? Of course, kid. Anything you want. Anything to keep you talking. Midoriya paused, seemingly building up the courage to ask whatever it was he wanted to know. Would you really care if I jumped off the roof of this building? Dread, cold and familiar, wrapped the entirety of Shota's chest, closing in on him like a python suffocating its prey. Yes, he answered, simple but empathetic. I don't know why you're up here, Midoriya. but I promise, this is not the answer. You have your whole life ahead of you. Don't throw it away before you had the chance to actually live it. The kid hummed again, tilting his head slightly while keeping his stare glued to the concrete below. Would you change your answer if I told you that I was quirkless? Fuck. Of course not, kid. With that, Midoriya finally turned to look at him, his expression chilling him to the bone. Shouta had dealt with a lot of jumpers in his career. It, unfortunately, was part of the job description. But usually, there was some emotion that he could latch onto to help talk them down. Fear, sadness, anger, grief. Anything he could use to prove to them that their emotional state was to an extreme that hindered them from seeing other, less drastic solutions to whatever their problem was. But Midoriya's face was completely blank. Well, Eraserhead, he said, smiling at Shouta with dead eyes. It should. Precious seconds ticked by as Shouta struggled to form a response. And Midoriya turned back to face the concrete pavement below him. People who are quirkless don't have a future, Midoriya continued when he took too long to respond. I know that now, and I accept it. But I just don't see the point in struggling so much when in the end I'm not going to end up anywhere. I don't know who told you that, but they're wrong, Midoriya. You can live a fulfilling life just like anyone else can. Even if you're quirklet. Midoriya cut him off before he could finish. A fulfilling life as a hero? Shouta must have hesitated, because Midoriya's shoulders went taut. And he hastily tried to piece together something to say to get the conversation back on track. You want to be a hero? Don't worry, Eraserhead. I know it's not realistic. The word was dripping with venom, and Shouta couldn't help but hate the people who looked at a child in the face and told them that even having a dream was unrealistic. Not all people are born equal. I've known that for a while. But now it's time that I accept it. Midoriya glanced up at the stars, and from his spot on the roof, Shouta could see a single tear rolling down his cheek. I know I'm not strong enough to be a hero, but I can't bring myself to live in a world where I'm anything else. Midoriya, a quirk is not what makes a hero. I've met plenty of people with strong quirks that make awful heroes, and people with weak quirks that are amazing heroes. A true hero is defined by their character, and the fact that you believe a hero is someone driven by helping others says a lot about you. Shouta took a deep breath, encouraged by the fact that Midoriya hadn't shuffled any closer to the edge of the roof. Look, Midoriya, I'm not gonna lie and say that it's going to be easy, but it is possible. You can be a hero. Midoriya's shoulders slumped, like a great weight had been lifted off of them. Something inside Shouta relaxed at the sight, sure that he had somehow managed to say the right thing. Until Midoriya spoke up again. Thank you, Eraserhead. I think I needed to hear that from someone before. It was the beginning of summer, but the air around him suddenly became colder than ice. Before what, Midoriya? Shouta forces himself to ask, his voice quiet even to his own ears. The boy turned, giving Shouta that same dead smile from before. I'm sorry, Eraserhead. I am. But sometimes a person is just past saving. Later, Shouta will spend months agonizing over the next few moments. Later, he will wonder what would have been if he had just moved a half step faster. Or if he had the forethought to bring his capture weapon with him on what should have been a quiet walk. Later, there will be hours Shouta spends poring over police files and school security footage, slowly painting a vivid picture of just how badly the world had failed Midoriya Izuku. Later, he will scream and cry until his voice gives out. Until his dry eyes are so irritated he can't even stand to have them open. Later, Shouta will do a lot of things, but it will never change what happened in that moment. Midoriya turned away from him, tipping forward while Shouta shouted after him. Despite the fact that he ran as fast as he could, the tip of Shota's middle finger just barely brushed the collar of Midoriya's shirt, leaving nothing to stop the boy's momentum, sending him over the edge of the building. In that moment, he could only watch, powerless as the young boy rapidly approached the ground. Could do nothing but listen to the sickening crunch of his small body colliding with the concrete. Midoriya's shoes mocked him from their forgotten place on the ledge of the building, their deep red mimicking the blood that had already stained the sidewalk below. He met Midoriya Izuku for the first and last time on the roof of Aldera Middle School. Yet he haunts Shouta, his dead smile and broken body on his mind every time he closes his eyes. Alright everybody, that concludes the one-shot entitled The Haunting of a Hero. I came across this fic recently and fell in love with it. It's so well written. I feel like it's the perfect length for a one-shot. And overall, it's a good premise. Like, I've seen a lot of Dadzawa fics where he ends up, like, catching him halfway over. This is the first one that I've seen where he doesn't catch Izuku. And I just think, like, I just like the uniqueness of this one. On a side note, I didn't expect this author to get back to me so quickly as they did. Because they haven't posted in a hot second, and I thought that I was just gonna, like, it was gonna be one of those comments where I never got a reply, and I would just have to move on and, you know, mourn over what could have been. But no. It turned out, like, they responded pretty quickly. In fact, they responded within, like, a few hours, which was crazy. Moving on, though, I do have a project that I'm currently working on. I mentioned it in a previous video where I'm actually collabing with a few other podfickers, and Prinks, another podficker, is posting all of the videos for the collab onto their channel. I highly recommend you go check it out. I'll link it down below. The other project I'm working on is a podfic that's most likely going to be an hour and a half long. It's chapters 1 through 5 of a fic, and it only had about 8,000 words, so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just compile this all into one thing. And in that video, I will be working on transition sounds and just overall upgrading the quality of my videos, which will be, it's been fun working on so far. But I hope you look forward to that. I'll make sure to post on my community page when that is done, and I'll post like the day before I actually post that. But on that note, I think it's time to promote my Discord before I yap your guys' ears off. So, please make sure to check out the Discord if you haven't already, if you would like to get updates easier, get connected with people within the fanfiction community, make requests for a podfic, and more. The link to the server will be in the description. Now, I hope you enjoyed, and thank you for listening.